welcome back to the show, and now it's time for our main event. Masakatsu Funaki versus Wayne Shamrock. Should be a very exciting fight, Josh.
I agree. I mean, this is really two of the top fighters of Pancrase at the time meeting in a main event. These two would meet many more times in the future, but both eventually would go on to claim King of Pancrase titles. So you could see this as a king versus king match.
All right, let's see what they did before they became kings.
Masakatsu Funaki versus Wayne
And we
Shamrock.
see Wayne Shamrock coming in now. These two guys are very familiar with each other. They spent time previously in the UWF, Josh.
That's right. Both were students of the UWF. Also, both migrated with Yoshiaki Fujiwara when Fujiwara started his group, the Fujiwara Gumi, and has had many a pro wrestling match against each other, a lot of training together as well, which is probably why they're two of the best fighters in Pancrase.
ここが違うっていうのはやっぱり使ってる技とかそういうのはいろいろあるんですけども、いろんな団体でも自分たちが使ってる技ってのあるんですけども、それを受け合ったりとか、あとは事前に何ていうんですかね、こういう技を出してやろうと思ってそれがうまくかかったりとか、そういう受け合いの試合じゃないっていうところが一番大きな違いですね。だからお互いにゴンがカーンと始まったらもうどういう攻撃してくるかも分かんないし、逆にどういう攻撃をされるかも分かんないし、だからどういう攻撃をするのも自由だし、そういう意味で今まで練習してきた技をそのままリング上で相手に叩きつけて、で勝負を争うっていう当たり前の試合をするっていうのが一番パンクラスの特徴だと思います。
Now, Masakatsu Funaki, he's 38 years old now, and we've spoken before. He wants to make a comeback. Now, why do you think that is, Josh? Is it just a fighter in him that wants to just stay in the ring?
Certainly, I think that he's been out and he sees the evolution of MMA. He sees how some of the other fighters coming in here. He's trained other athletes to fight within MMA, and it's just within a person to want to fight in the first place. And I just think that he doesn't feel like he's had his fill of being in the ring.
Now we're seeing flowers being delivered to both fighters. Josh, has anyone given you flowers in the ring?
Yes, actually. Usually pretty girls and not guys, but the sentiment, I guess, is appreciated either way.
Can I get an invite to the ring the next time you step in? Possibly get some flowers?
Not a problem. I'll see if they dig your style.
All right, and Funaki actually trained Wayne Shamrock in many submission moves, so I guess you can say we're kind of seeing a teacher versus student matchup here.
Yes, in some ways. In fact, Ken Shamrock's induction into submission wrestling was to get stretched out, as they refer to it in the business, by Funaki and Suzuki over and over and over and over again. So his trial by fire was to get pretty much every limb on his body torqued and tweaked and getting choked multiple times, and it really seemed to have paid off, as Shamrock is one of the most well-known and most successful fighters within the MMA industry.
And now, in a teacher versus student matchup, you would think the teacher has the advantage.
Certainly, but with somebody like Ken Shamrock, who is just an incredible fighter, an incredible physical specimen, and he's not someone that's going to roll over regardless of whether it was his teacher, friend, doesn't matter. Ken's going to get down to business.
All right, and glad to see that both fighters have passed the airport inspection that the referee has conducted, and the fight will go on. Shamrock's strong right leg kick gets some oohs and ahs from the crowd.
Yeah, right to the midsection there. Funaki's got to be sure not to absorb too many of those, as with a 30-minute match, shots to the body can really come into play.
And now both fighters exchanging blows. A very aggressive start by both men, Josh.
Yeah, both looking kind of for the knockout shot right off the bat, but I think this is just a little bit of a feeling out process. Big shote, right shote from Funaki, and that had to wake Ken up.
That just shook Shamrock right off him. Fighters getting in a clinch, as you see Funaki lifting his leg up, possibly to prevent any knee attacks from Ken.
Preventing the knee, preventing any kicks to the leg. Neither one really looking to take either one of them down to the mat at this point in the match, but I don't think they're going to keep it on the feet the entire time. Shamrock scoring with a jab earlier on, now hitting with a low kick and a shot to the body.
Now, we know Ken Shamrock as a great fighter nowadays, but just how good was he back then?
You know, in fact, I think a lot of people would say that Ken Shamrock's best days may have been in Pancrase.
And now Ken Shamrock has the rear mount. And what does Funaki has to do in this position? He looks to be at the disadvantage right now.
Well, you know, Shamrock working a waist lock takedown, riding behind, working the face lock here. Funaki's got to control the hands. He's got to keep control of all of his limbs and really just be aware of where Shamrock's at and not let him flatten him out and break his posture.
And so far in the fight, Shamrock, a lot of what he's learned is from Funaki, and so far he seems to be holding his own out there.
Yeah, well, it's going to be difficult to... nice face lock takeover.
Now, why did Ken let that go, Josh?
Well, he needed to secure the position before he could really secure the submission. So at that time, he didn't quite have Funaki locked down. As he's transitioned to the double grapevines here, he's got him flattened out. Now rolling over into the mount where Funaki can more easily defend himself. Now it's just a matter of finding the opening against two great grapplers.
Now you see Funaki extending his arms, trying to keep his distance from Shamrock.
Yeah, just sort of posturing up, trying to create some space, looking for an escape. He's well aware of the sort of techniques that Shamrock's going to use to submit him at this point, but regardless, he's got to be careful. Shamrock working the Nelson there.
How important is it, Josh, for Funaki to be patient and not try to escape too quickly when he doesn't have the right position?
Well, he's got to understand at this point in his career that the techniques, anything that's going to be thrown at him, he's going to have to have seen it before. So he needs to conserve some of his energy. And like I said earlier, he's got 30 minutes worth of fighting that he may have to go through. So I think stamina can really come into play.
And both fighters, once again, Shamrock on top, Funaki still on the bottom. That's what we've seen for most of the fight thus far. And now Shamrock looking to go for the lower body of Funaki.
Yeah, Funaki was kind of giving up the arm for a second, trying to bait Shamrock into trying to take a cross arm scissor. But Shamrock with a full Nelson attempt, not a good spot to be in, a very difficult hold to escape, and looking for the toe hold now.
Looks like Funaki's trying to get up on his feet, but Shamrock just not allowing him to do that.
And Shamrock riding very tight, not really allowing him to get any space to either reverse or get on top. A knee bar attempt, and dangerous position for Shamrock to even be in, as Funaki is a well-renowned leg submission artist.
Now, with both these fighters on the ground having a hold of each other's feet, can you say one person has a distinct advantage?
Well, I will say that Shamrock was the first to initiate the Achilles lock here. And that should give him an advantage to getting the submission first. But Funaki is just very wily on the ground, and you never know when he's going to turn something of yours into a submission before you can even blink.
Now, both fighters are not doing much, so we can expect the referee to probably break them at any moment, and there he does right there. Now, that, of course, he wants to encourage the action, move the fight along.
With two evenly matched competitors, it's not unusual to see him end up in a stalemate position sometimes.
And Funaki's got to be happy. It's the first time in a while he's been on his feet. He should stretch his legs a little bit.
As he eats another middle kick to the body there from Shamrock, Funaki I think he would really want to look to try and score the top position here in this match.
And it looks like he tried right there, but unsuccessful, and we're right back where we started. Ken Shamrock on top.
Ken, really a very powerful fighter, but also known for having very strong hips and very difficult to get off of his feet.
It looks like Funaki taught him well, maybe too well.
Well, I think they're both using great examples of each other's strengths, with Ken using his power and a little bit of a size advantage to try and wear Funaki down and keep that top position. Funaki really looking for more of a technical opportunity to use his vast submission knowledge against Shamrock.
Funaki throwing body punches. Are you surprised by how this fight is unfolding so far, Josh?
Well, I didn't expect Funaki to be on the bottom the entire time, but however, Ken is a really strong individual and he's hard to take off his feet. Although, he's being quite cautious. Although, looking for the side choke
I think he might have it, Josh.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous position for Funaki to be in, and I would expect him to really start to try and escape, get his elbow down, bridge, anything. You can't sit there.
Well, Funaki doesn't seem to be doing anything except grimacing with his face. That's not going to help him.
Well, he's pushing against his hand there to put his elbow in against Shamrock's head to try and clear some space to breathe, but Shamrock taking his time, he's not rushing it, just squeezing, laying his body weight in with his shoulder, into Funaki's arm and his neck.
Funaki still held in this choke, and he finally taps out. Ken Shamrock pulls off the upset. I don't think the crowd saw this coming by their reaction, and Ken Shamrock very pumped up, as he should be.
Funaki, I think he's just being much too relaxed in there, and Shamrock, as strong and as powerful as he is, he saw his opportunity, and at that point, Funaki was unable to recover from his mistake.
We just saw Shamrock shout, "That's right, that's right." At 6:15 in the first round, Ken Shamrock wins via submission.
なんかそうですね。嬉しいんですけども、やっぱりちょっと複雑、負けたっていうのがすごい悔しくて複雑な心境です。でも今日が最後じゃないですから本当に頑張りたいと思います。なんかやっと本当の勝負ができるようになったなっていうのが嬉しいです。
Now, this is Funaki's debut fight. As the co-founder of Pancrase, you're probably expected to win a lot of fights, not just your first fight. This has to be somewhat embarrassing for him.
I don't know if embarrassing is exactly the word, but a complete upset. It is even as strong as a fighter as Ken Shamrock is. Funaki just didn't see it coming.
Hey, Funaki could have picked a cupcake opponent, but he didn't.
I agree with that, and I think that was a smart choice, even regardless of the fact that he did lose that opening match. But it gave a good example of the sort of competition that you would see later on in Pancrase.
All right, those are all the matches we have for today. But before we go, let's check out our highlight of the day. And our highlight comes from Boss Rune versus Ryushi Nagasawa. Talk about what we just saw, Josh.
Yeah, Boss just electrifying, just coming straight forward, just pure aggression, following that kick up with a shote and another kick. Yanagisawa just was not ready for such aggression.
Yanagisawa, no stiff. At the time, he was the 4th ranked heavyweight in Pancrase. Has to be surprised. Just goes to show you how good Boss Rutan is.
Well, I think Boss Rutan really put an image in everybody's mind that they were all going to have to look out from here on out.
All right, and that wraps it up for our first show. Please come back next week for more Pancrase action. I'm Rob Wu.
I'm Josh Barnett.
Take a good look at the yellow skin, look at the face. After all this hard work, look at the change. Your career's on the line, just look at your game. Look at Flo Sick, cause she's the one to blame now. Look, I'm the next frontline MC now. Look, none of y'all can hang with me now. Look, in the coop, I can feel the steady breeze now. Look, ice on the wrist, glyphs make you freeze. Now look, newcomer flowing like an OG now. Look, rookie of the year started for the team now. Look, I'm a shine holy king.